The following video contains images of dogs that people might find disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. Photography is not always fun and games. Sometimes as a photographer you have a responsibility to document stuff that people might find disturbing. And one such documentary series that I had worked on was documenting the struggles of street dogs in India. India has a street dog population of 6.2 crores. And this is a big problem because most of these dogs are unvaccinated, they are homeless, and while they scavenge and look for food, they generally rummage through the trash, and when this happens they contract different forms of diseases. Some of these dogs have rabies, and rabies is a problem not only for dogs but it's a hazard for humans as well. Not only do they contract diseases, but they are also victims of various forms of abuse because there's very less rules that actually protect these dogs. So as a photographer, I wanted to document the situation to actually bring awareness on how bad the situation really is. And when I took these images, they were extremely disturbing. It's the side of photography that people don't often show you. But today I'm going to show it to you to bring awareness on the street dog population problem in India, and to encourage people to do what they can to help these dogs and not mistreat these poor animals. The first issue that I wanted to address is dogs rummaging through the trash in search of food. Dogs, they generally don't have a place to get food. And what ends up happening is they generally rummage through the trash in order to look for food. And by doing this, not only do they contract diseases, but they often bite into glass and other dangerous materials, which often ends up cutting their mouth. And these dogs, they do not get adequate medical attention, and due to this they pass away due to the injuries. Another issue is also the impact that we human beings have on the environment. The litter that we put on the floor, it always ends up with dogs. In some way or the other, the dogs end up biting them or they end up consuming them, and this also is hazardous to these animals. I also wanted to showcase the reality that dogs get abused by human beings. And some of the images that I captured of these dogs that were victims of abuse was really sad. It was really disturbing, but I knew I had to do it for the sake of documentation. I also saw a lot of dogs with tumors. Now, tumors in dogs are treatable, but in these cases, not many people go out of their way to treat these dogs. And because the tumor does not get removed and because these diseases did go untreated, the dog eventually ends up passing away due to something that could be treated if only people gave it some attention. Another issue that I found was abandonment. People abandoning their dogs. It really made me sad to see this super tall, majestic dogs roaming on the street with other street dogs because the owner abandoned it. These dogs that have grown with its owners, when you abandon these dogs and when you throw them away, they have to learn to survive on its own, and it's probably never done that. The difference between a street dog and a domestic dog is that street dogs, they were born on the street and they learn to survive on their own. If you have a dog which is domesticated, it doesn't have survival skills because it depended on you as the owner. Now, if you abandon the dog and if you throw the dog away, what ends up happening is that dog has to learn to survive on its own. And just the fact that the dog trusts human beings, right? That in itself is the most dangerous situation for the dog to be in, because human beings are the most dangerous animals in the world. So the dog that you abandoned, it had to learn to survive on its own. It had to learn to scavenge for food, and it also had to learn who to trust and who not to trust. All because of your incapability of raising the creature properly. It really disturbed me because being a dog owner, I cannot imagine just abandoning my dog, especially after it grew and after having it for many years. If you cannot take care of an animal, then please do not get an animal. If you feel that you won't be able to do it, if you have these doubts in your mind, I don't think I can do it, but let's just get the dog and try to grow it. If you have these type of thoughts in your mind, then please just do not get a dog. wait till you have the adequate finances and then go and adopt. That makes more sense. Another problem that I noticed is that some dogs have collars, and these collars are generally put on the dogs when they are puppies. But when the dog is abandoned and the owner does not take out the collar, what ends up happening is the puppy keeps growing. It grows into an adult, but the collar, it doesn't loosen because it's buckled in. And because of that, the collar ends up choking the dog and the dog dies due to the collar choking it. There are many ways you as an individual can help with the street dogs in your locality. Number one, you can have water bowls outside your residence. Just have a concrete bowl and fill it with water so that the dogs in your area can actually quench their thirst during the hot summers. What you also could do is support your local NGOs and animal clinics. Now, there are a lot of NGOs which you can find in your city just by looking it up on Google. And what you could do is that you could help your NGOs by supporting them in any way that you can. These NGOs, they provide food to animals. They also provide shelter to animals. And by supporting these NGOs, you're supporting a group of individuals who are working endlessly to make the lives of these street dogs better. Another thing that you could do is take your dog to the vet and get it neutered. If you have a street dog and if you can take the dog safely to a vet, I highly recommend you do that so that the dog will get neutered. By neutering your dog, what ends up happening is you limit the dog's ability to reproduce, and because the dog cannot reproduce, it will no longer give birth to puppies on the street, and those puppies will be saved from a life of endless suffering. And the last point that I have for you is adopt if you can. If you have the capability to adopt a street dog, then I highly recommend you do it because Indies are really beautiful breeds of dogs. I personally have two Indies, Bubbles and Angel, which I have grown from the time they are puppies, and I absolutely love them. They're the cutest dogs ever. And they were the inspiration behind this photographic series. And I really hope that people find this series valuable. I am going to give these images for free to any NGO and anyone who would like to use it to bring awareness of the street dog problem in India. If you have an NGO and if you need images for your NGO, or if you are an animal rights activist, or if you in any way are working with animals and street dogs, then I am willing to give you my images for absolutely free. I have linked my Instagram down below. All you have to do is come and ask me in the DMs and I will send you a link with all the images in it. Also, I have linked down below my blog in which I have shared more images which I clearly cannot share here on YouTube because my video will get taken down. Do read the blog. Every small act counts. Every small act of kindness that you do towards these dogs is a testimony of your character. Your character is really defined by how much you can help a living being without expecting anything back in return. And that is what defines a high quality individual, his ability to help those who cannot help themselves. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.